On December 27th, 2019, the paranormal community was saddened and shocked by the sudden death of paranormal researcher, radio show host, author and Para-logian Kevin Malek. The news of his passing was heartbreaking to everyone that knew him, and I am still in shock at his passing. This episode is dedicated to the work and to the memory of Kevin Malek. This is also a tribute to the ongoing work of his dear wife, Jennifer Malek. Together they were a powerhouse of knowledge and experience in the paranormal field. Together they both enlightened, explored every area of the paranormal spectrum, and protected many vulnerable and frightened people. My love and my thoughts go to Jennifer at this tragic time. The Malek name is synonymous with the pursuit of knowledge within the paranormal community, with both Jennifer and Kevin opening doors for many to join the community and guiding and supporting everyone they came into contact with. The Malek's work has touched hundreds of thousands of people from all parts of the globe, with their work featured in magazines such as the Supernatural magazine, our very own The Paranormal Chronicles free digital magazine, and also in their must-read book for every paranormal enthusiast, Paraversal Universal, Decade of Diligence. They hosted the immensely popular Paraversal Universal radio show where they interviewed and discussed all aspects of the paranormal with the who's who of established and upcoming paranormal researchers, authors, personalities and those of personal experience. Their radio show archive is a goldmine of knowledge. It was their show that I first guested on after penning my first book, A Most Haunted House, and I had just created my own brand of paranormal exploration with the Paranormal Chronicles. I was very nervous. I'd been in the media spotlight once before in a life very far removed from the one I happily live in now. It was a period of reinvention and reflection after a long battle with alcoholism, depression, a nervous breakdown and a suicide attempt. I yearned to finally follow my heart, my lifelong passion, explore the unknown, all things mysterious and of a supernatural origin. Some of you will already know it is indeed the living and not the dead that do the most harm, and almost immediately I was set upon by local investigators that bullied and harassed me at every step. Insecure types stifling and suffocating anyone's desire to succeed or grow or delve into the unknown without their permission. It was during this time I was contacted by Kevin to guest on their show. A huge honour, and I was terrified that the bullies would follow me to the show and ruin the experience, or that everyone in the community was of the same ilk, mean, jealous and damaging. I spoke to Kevin a few days before we were set to broadcast for a Skype check. Kevin was so laid back and so accommodating. He immediately came across as genuine, caring, excited and supportive of my own journey. I remember mumbling something about having a few issues with local investigators, and he immediately reassured me with conviction and confidence. "We are not like that," he told me. "Our guests, our listeners, Jennifer and I, we support and encourage everyone to investigate. Research is key." Kevin was a genuine good guy. He was not fueled by ego or by profit, but to simply research the unknown. And at his side, as his equal, he got to do this with the woman he so evidently loved. The Maleks were the epitome of everything that is good in the paranormal community. The interview was professional, encouraging, and ideas were offered on my own personal experience of a haunting that changed my life. Listeners in the chat room shared personal experiences and offered theories and advice. It is a genuine highlight of my life. I made some great friends on the back of that interview. I popped my interview cherry with two of the most wonderful people I could ever imagine to meet. Even at 2 a.m, the interview flowed, more like a conversation with old friends on a radio show. And for 2 hours we talked, and when the interview was over, they both spent time talking to me, encouraging, supporting, sharing. And I knew straight away that these were not just two paranormal investigators, but these were real people. People that cared and had such incredible knowledge. I had made 2 friends, and they kindly introduced me to more people within the community. And from being fearful and worried because of a few insecure and trolling bullies, I found hope and confidence as I was embraced by a community of good people with good hearts from all over the world, all working together to find answers. It was this moment where I felt the love and kindness the Maleks had for everyone. They gave everyone a chance. They helped everyone that needed help, and because of the door they opened, I had the confidence to go on and feature on scores of radio and podcast shows all over the world, to feature on Coast to Coast, the BBC, in the mainstream UK press, and my little self-published book, written by me, a guy suffering with alcoholism, battling suicidal depression, went on to be read by over 100,000 people. And without the love and support of Kevin and Jennifer Malek, I would not have written more books, and this podcast series would not exist. I thank you both so much for everything you do for me. My writing career blossomed, and the rewards of this allowed me to support others with dependency, to support those with mental health issue, and all of this stems because two people in northern Wisconsin gave me the chance to shine. They gave me the love and support to endure and grow, and Kevin, thank you so much. There are hundreds of people out there today feeling the same way as I do, because without the Maleks, this community would not exist as it does. And it's Kevin's incredible knowledge, so broad from his MUFON work to his Bigfoot investigations, his cryptid research, his lake monstrosities platforms, his paranormal investigations on all scopes of the paranormal, have enlightened and inspired thousands around the world. Kevin may be gone from this plane of existence, but his work lives on in Jennifer, and now more than ever we need to rally around and give Jennifer our love and support. Kevin's work lives on in the words of books and articles. I was honoured that he gave an endorsement for Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, a book read by thousands, and it is his endorsement on the first page that greets you, and his endorsement amidst the passion and love for the paranormal and his desire to see people succeed. And it is Jennifer's work on demonology that bookends the true account of that book. The Maleks, they touched my life in the most beautiful way imaginable. There are dozens of Paraversal Universal radio shows where Kevin will live on. There are a multitude of interviews out there where Kevin's knowledge and work live on for everyone to absorb and be inspired by. In our own podcast series, this podcast series, Kevin and Jennifer donated their precious time to share their experiences and theories. Kevin and Jennifer made wanting to be a paranormal investigator cool. They are the real-life Mulder and Scully. Constantly professional, they exhibited integrity, passion, honesty, and the support for everyone that needed it. The Malek name will be forever synonymous with all that is good and loving within the paranormal community. Kevin is always here, a beacon of light, a lighthouse of hope shining brightly in the darkness. Kevin has embarked on a new adventure. He has a new world to explore, and this world, our world, is a far better place than the work Kevin and Jennifer have done for us all. Thank you so much, Kevin Malek. You were taken too soon, but your love and your work will endure for eternity. To Jennifer, the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, the listeners of Paraversal Universe, the readers of Supernatural and the Paranormal Chronicles magazine, my love to you all at this sad time. Myself and Dave Dominguez had the pleasure to speak to Kevin and talk about Bigfoot, and soon we fell down many rabbit holes. Here to honour the great Kevin Malek is that very interview. You really get a sense of his passion and his love for all things paranormal. I love you, man. One day, I shall join you for the ultimate investigation. My love to anyone out there who has lost someone. Your life matters. You matter. Life is important. Your life is important. Here's Kevin Malek.
Welcome to the show, Kevin. How are you? How are you, Jennifer?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for being with us today. I know that you all have been quite knowledgeable and have a lot of experience in the paranormal field as well as the cryptid field. Kevin, you being a paranormal historian as well, ufologist. And we were discussing a Bigfoot sighting that you had in the past. It was very interesting, and I was hoping you could share that with us today.
Absolutely. The sighting I had, I was in my 20s. I'm 43 now. The sighting was one of the catalysts that led me to found the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. It was a Saturday morning. It was 10:30. It was the hottest day of the year. In fact, it set a record that day. Yeah. It was like 104, 105. We had our shirts off. We had the sunroof open. Driving down a county road, County C in Wisconsin. And my buddy drives pretty quick. He's a speed racer. And so he was going like 70 miles an hour. And we come around the bend in the highway, and there's a figure crossing the road. Comes up on the side and starts crossing. And I nudge my buddy. I go, hey, look, it's Bigfoot. You know, at first thinking it's not. Or at first thinking that it looked like a Bigfoot, but it must be something else. And my brain is trying to register what I'm seeing. And it looked like a tall, hunched over old man carrying 2 5-gallon buckets, swinging side to side, like there were long strides. But as the creature crossed the road and started going into the underbrush. By then, we had covered easily probably about a quarter of the distance. Enough that I can tell that it was all the same color, which was like a paneling brown, like a tan color. I had crossed the highway in like 4 or 5 steps, and that what I thought were 2 5-gallon buckets were in fact its forearms. The arms go all the way almost to the ground, and they're very massive. And so the figure crosses the road and goes back into the underbrush on the other side, and without even prompting my buddy, when he came up to the spot, he stopped the car, because we had both just seen something very unusual. And he looks over at me and he goes, "You want to go in there after it?" And I was like, "Are you crazy? Did you see how big it was?" And we couldn't see it. It was like when we stopped the car and we looked over, I expected to see like a driveway or a trail or anything man-made, and an old man, carrying 2 5-gallon buckets. And I could say to myself, for a minute there, I thought I was seeing something. No, it wasn't. That was not the case. We came up to the spot. There was no driveway, no trail, not so much as anything, a sign or nothing man-made. It was just woods. The figure we saw had completely disappeared. And I don't know if he had jumped on all fours and went flat to the ground, or if he had just disappeared, or what the deal was. I do know if it would have been an old man carrying 2 5-gallon buckets, there'd be no way he can get through all that rampant undergrowth and move along to the point where we wouldn't be able to see him. It would be because the undergrowth by the county road is thicker, because it gets more sunlight and stuff. It was just one of them things to where we realized that we saw a Bigfoot. So all the way home, we're discussing it like, no one's going to believe this. This is nuts. And it was so hot out that the first thing we thought is, could this be a hoax of some kind? No, not today. It is so hot today for anybody to put on Chewbacca suit or some and no. And to maneuver through the brush like it did. No. A bear? No. A bear walk like Frankenstein, all slow with the arms kind of straight out. This thing was striding, like the arms were swinging side to side, and the knuckles were like scraping the ground kind of thing. And the leg strides were long. So when we got home, we looked at a map to see where it was going, and it was going towards a water source. There's a river in the area. At that point, we kind of figured that this creature was somewhere he normally wouldn't have been at that time of day. But because it was so hot out that he was probably suffering, and maybe his life was even in danger at that point, and he needed a water source. And he was willing to risk walking around in the broad daylight, crossing a county highway. It's boonies up here. We're in the Northwoods of Wisconsin, so it's not like a state highway, but it's still, for us, it's a county trunk highway. And for me, I can rule out hallucination because my buddy saw it too, and we were both sober. It was daylight out. It was just, it was an incredible experience. Yeah, so anyways, we figured we were probably downwind. The way we came around the bend, not a sharp corner, but, kind of a corner, just a bend in the road or whatever. And that it probably figured it was safe, and it was just going to scoot across the highway, and we came whipping around, and bam, we saw him. Where he went to, I don't know. He either disappeared, because he crosses a road, it goes down, and then it goes up. We would have been able, it's not like he would have been able to go down a hill or something where we couldn't see him anymore. It was, the way it was set up, if he would have continued walking, he would have had an incline before he got over the ridge. He wasn't there, and we couldn't see him, and there was nothing moving around, no branches or anything like that. It was just silent, and it's like, wow, a huge figure just crossed the road here. Just amazing. So from that point on, I realized that Bigfoot is real. I had a couple UFO experiences too. So between the UFO experiences and then seeing this Bigfoot, and then of course just my interest in it, was my mom had bought me an encyclopedia set when I was like 10 or 11, and it was like I forget what publishing company, but anyways, it was 25 books, all on different paranormal topics and subjects. Book, and it was geared kind of towards kids. I mean, when you look at it today as an adult, it's like, oh, this is kind of like a kid's book. But for me, that was my introduction into paranormal. My mom had a really impressive library, all kinds of books on mysteries and unexplained mysteries and stuff. And so I get this encyclopedia set all to my own as a kid, and then I have the experiences. It's just one thing on top of another. At some point, I'm like, well, I got enough experiences and at this point enough knowledge that I should be an asset to some paranormal society. So I went to look for one, and there wasn't one up, or that's why I started the society. So we cover 7 categories now. Used to be 6. We added forbidden archaeology to that.
Oh, okay, that's a great subject. absolutely.
Brilliant.
But we cover ghosts and haunted places,
Yes.
cryptozoology, aliens and UFOs, metaphysics, theology, conspiracies, and now forbidden archaeology. The thing with the forbidden archaeology is, like with like different objects, some of them were haunted objects. Some of the stuff would end up in theology if it was religious based. But overall, we decided that we needed something for specifically like UPAs, out of place artifacts and whatnot. So, but yeah, so them are the 7 categories we cover. Our society covers them, and we're involved at different. We investigate. For families, we specialize in families who are traumatized by paranormal experiences. We have a wonderful team or a society filled with paranormal professionals. We have a resident psychotherapist who works with us. He's a core member.
Wow.
Of course, Jennifer's a psychic medium and religious demonologist, and we have Reverend Charming Gwen Pond. She's got a doctorate in theology, religion. Of course, we have a documentarian. We have a few just general paranormal investigators. And then myself, and we have another ufologist who used to be the state director for Wisconsin MUFON, part of the team. So we got a really well-rounded team looking at everything from multiple facets and angles. And we kind of meet in the middle. So we work the cases. And otherwise, we'll be involved with things like expos or paracons or campouts. We got a Bigfoot campout planned in May.
Oh, fantastic.
We're going to go out with, it's going to be Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. We're going to have a couple members of the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters, because they've been asking for a couple of years now to go out with us, because they only do ghosts, and they're like, man, we'd really like to try this Bigfooting. They're awesome investigators. And then we're going to hook up with the Wisconsin Bigfoot Research Society.
And you're going to have your joint investigations there.
Well, what we'll do is all three of it, there's a couple members from that group, a couple members from our group, a couple members from Fox Valley. We're going to meet in one area in the middle of the woods. It's called Stevens Creek Chimney. It used to be an old bed and breakfast, which had burned down. Big mystery behind it. It's considered a haunted location. Plus, it's surrounded by nothing but woods. There are no houses anywhere within miles. We thought, man, what better location than that location? All night squatching, but at our base camp, we'll have, if nothing is happening with the squatching, we can try stuff with the paranormal, with the ghosts and stuff. But we just got this. One of our members had just bought a Kinex camera. That's something I'd like to try out in.
What is a Kinex camera?
Well, it maps out the environment and it picks up motion. It's very similar to like the Nintendo Wii. People are familiar with that. The interactive video games now, where you have a camera on you and it picks up your movement and it maps it, so you can actually like literally fight with your arms or and what would happen is people would be playing this video game, and of course it maps them out as a stick figure. All of a sudden, like it would map out another figure next to them or something.
Oh wow, yeah.
Look over and there's nobody standing there. It's like, what the hell is it mapping out? You got the TV and you see a stick figure, same size as you. So anyway,
this camera can see another realm or another wavelength or something.
Yeah, it's we've tried it so far in one investigation. Well, two. We tried it on one investigation, and we did some tests with it at another location that we investigated like 2 years ago. And the first time we used it, we got 2 figures throughout the course of the whole. There's like a 12-hour investigation, 10-hour investigation. We got 2 figures that it mapped out that were not present.
Oh, amazing.
One of the figures, it was interesting, was almost like a halfling-sized figure, almost even smaller, like a small child, and was floating in the air. It was really unique. And when Jennifer reached her hand up to it, you could see her, too. She's mapped out in the camera also.
Yeah.
The thing, like, curled up, like in a fetal position, like it didn't want to be touched.
Yeah.
And so we were able to interact with this too. Can you raise your arm? If you can ask questions that way, and if you see it raise its arm, it's just an awesome tool. And I thought, man, not only are we into cryptozoology, but we're into paracryptozoology. One of the like pages we have is called Paracryptozoology on Facebook.
Paracryptozoology
That's the notion that some animals that we have yet to discover or have yet identified may have supernatural abilities or powers that humans don't possess.
Oh, okay.
Whatever that may be. We hear about Bigfoot's disappearing, portals. Right. I've heard stories where people say that one will pull another right out of the ground. Or, just people report Bigfoot's, and the strange lights in the sky. Just enough of these reports that you can't really just keep discounting after report after report after report, tens, in the hundreds into the thousands. Something's going on. I mean, and we're talking, like we were talking with Gavin, and he was saying before the show, he's like, in England, it's not as big as it is in America with the Bigfooting.
Right.
But if you look at maps, I've seen a couple maps that have been put together where people have mapped out every Bigfoot sighting in the UK, and there's actually, there's enough dots on the map that it's, to me, that's almost just more proof that there's something.
Somebody's seeing something. They're seeing something.
People are seeing Bigfoot on a smaller land location where we should especially with drones, especially with compared, like you'd figure we would be able to document ape-like creature by now.
Think, yeah. Well, I've heard that Bigfoot does have odd abilities. It could even make you see things or not see things.
Sure.
So it can, mind with its mind or something that you could be walking in front of you, but it can control that you can't see it. It can do something that you can't see it or you won't remember it. Or
Les Stroud talks about mind speak, or talks to him in his mind, and other people have reported that. Some people, like you said, they believe that somehow make itself invisible at times. It can make you, now if it's making you see things that you normally don't see, I kind of feel if you're experiencing something like that, you might want to look into the demonic a little bit. Just like if you're in a house, all of a sudden you see bugs everywhere, and then you start freaking out, and then they're just gone, and you're like, oh, you just had that kind of stuff. To me, is I would say, well, you might want to look into demonic, but
that's happened here in my house. That happened a few months ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, that we have a guest bathroom that nobody uses ever, nobody, and all of a sudden I walk in there and it's full of flies, just full of them, and that bathroom's sealed. There's no way anything can get inside, and it took me a couple of days to get rid of them. But the funny thing is, they would not come out of the bathroom. They wouldn't go to the hallway. They wouldn't come out. They wouldn't come out of anywhere. They would stay right there, and not leave.
And you're trying to figure out, how did they get here? Where's the food for them?
There's no food. There's nothing in there. That bathroom, nobody uses it. There's nothing in there. There's no food source. The trash can's completely empty. Nobody uses it. It's just there. So how they got in, I don't know. I checked the skylight. It's completely sealed. There was absolutely no way anything could gotten in there. No bugs, nothing. And that's why we couldn't figure out what was going on in that room.
Is there a bad presence in there, Dave?
I don't know. But like I said, nobody uses it, and I don't feel anything in the house. So that's when we thought that was really, really odd that it would. And mind you, this was in the middle of winter. It was around. I think around December, January that this was happening. So it's cold here. It's no flies here in that time of the year. So I thought that was really, really odd. And these weren't like little flies. These were the big flies. Those big, I guess we call them horse flies. They're big suckers. They can bite you if they want. So it took me a couple of days to get rid of them. It took about half a can of spray and some fly strips and all that, but eventually they all died and they never came back. So that's what we thought was weird. And I thought, well, something must be going on, or something followed me home from somewhere.
Something had latched onto you, Dave.
I guess so, because at the time we were having a rough time of it, and a few of the things were going on that was kind of weird. But once the flies disappeared, everything seemed to go back to normal.
I have a question for you, Kevin. Going back 20 years ago, you had your sighting of what you believe to be a Bigfoot. Was there any other sightings since or before that you've researched? Is it a known area for Bigfoot, or was it just a total anomaly? As you said, it's very hot. Maybe Bigfoot was fighting for survival.
Well, it's interesting you asked that. As you stated, we write for Supernatural magazine, and I decided better thing to write about than something that is it's true, especially in this field. It dawned on me that I had never wrote out my entire account and released it to the public. So I did that. I sat down and I wrote it out. We published it in Supernatural magazine. Once that happened, I got a couple of letters from people who had there are two other Bigfoot sightings in the same area where I saw mine. There's one of the sightings in the area, give or take a few miles. There's a abandoned potato farm, and one of the sightings was somebody had seen what they thought was a Bigfoot walking through this abandoned potato farm. The second one that came through was similar to ours, where somebody had seen somebody or something cross the highway that they couldn't explain. And I thought, man, them are all three within not only, and this is right outside of Starks, Wisconsin, and there's an area in the Starks location that's called the Ginty Triangle, and it's a triangle of within a few miles of a triangle, all this paranormal activity. There's a couple of houses in there where there's murders and demonic stuff. There's people have been killed within this triangle. There's a couple what we call just abandoned haunted houses where actually we documented some evidence that got us on news from one of these locations.
Wow. Kevin, I wanted to ask you on your Bigfoot sighting, just to give the listeners some perspective. That you said it was a county road, so is it very well maintained, and does it get a lot of traffic, or what was the traffic conditions that time of day?
I'd say average. I mean, 10:30 in the morning. A lot of people are at church then. I don't know. We came around, like I said, we came around a bend. It's a straight stretch. They're maintained by the county. They're not maintained by the state. So they don't have like the big. I don't know how it is in
such a rural.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, the trees come close to the highway.
Yeah.
Like clear it out for deer on the sides.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like state highways do. Where
Yes.
okay, they don't do that on the county highways. They just county highways. The highway, it's got the dotty line, and
so the brush on the side would be kind of thick.
Sure, because
pretty much just blended right into the underbrush. It kind of disappeared in there. And what I found interesting, you were saying that it had to run uphill. It couldn't have just disappeared down. So
right.
you should have seen it going over the hill.
That's what I'm saying. We even stopped the car and we're looking out, like, where is it? Who was that? Who was that?
Yeah.
It's either a Bigfoot that just disappeared or a hunched down old man. We would have seen him fumbling through the brush.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take 2 pickle buckets, fill them with something and walk through a bunch of undergrowth and bramble and whatever else.
Did you see any disturbance when you got to that spot where he went in, like broken branches or anything like that? Maybe
nothing was moving. It was like nothing had been there.
Okay,
nothing had been there. Like if my friend would have asked me that today, you want to go in there after it? I would have said yes.
Today,
because 20 years ago, it was just like no. At that time, it was like that was just so big. I mean, the way it walked, the way across the highway.
How difficult would it have been for you actually to gone after it?
Again, we're in shorts. We're in Bermuda shorts. We don't have any shirts on. I had tennies on, but I don't know if he had sandals or what. Or tennis shoes. So we would have got scratched up pretty good because there's, like raspberries and there's, they got the little thorny things on them and there's just like, small bushes and undergrowth. The woods up here are, thick. But when you get by the county roads or any roads, because the trees are cleared, it gets more sunlight than the average woods. So you get more stuff growing that's not tall trees.
It was hot day, but it wasn't necessarily dry. You did get rain, so it wasn't a bunch of scrub brush and stuff on the side of the road. It was just thick, dense bushes. Okay.
Were you frightened?
No, I wasn't frightened because we hadn't been approached or threatened. Or if he would have came running out of the woods at us, but maybe I was a little more not frightened, but just like again, I'm not generally one to go tempt fate, take a stick and poke a hornet's nest, things like that. And again, it was just a really. I'll never forget that experience. And I'm so glad someone was with me to see the same thing.
Do you think there's a connection, Kevin, between UFOs and Bigfoot?
I'm undecided on that. I can't discount that some Bigfoot sightings also have lights in the sky. I will say most of the Bigfoot, the majority don't, but there is a percentage that does. I will say as a ufologist that there are, depending on what ufologist you ask, there's going to be anywhere between, I think it's like 68 different known alien species all the way up to 150 some, depending on if you're getting, are you getting it from the Russian government? Are you getting it from the American government? They all have their things that leak out. So yeah, I mean, if there's like, 100 different alien species running around, sure, one of them could look like Chewbacca.
The reason I ask is, you made a very good point earlier about you explored where in the world Bigfoot had been seen. I'm not a huge knowledgeable person on the Bigfoot phenomena. Because of this show and because of you and Dave, I've done some research. And Bigfoot, there are many, many sightings in the UK. But one of them, which I find is really, really interesting, is in the Rendlesham Forest. It's called the Shug Monkey. It is described as a large ape, giant dog and bear. It's almost like this chimera, this weird animal wandering this ancient woods of Rendlesham. Rendlesham is where our Roswell occurred in the 1980s.
Yep.
And I was wondering maybe there was some kind of connection between the two. It's berserk that there's this weird creature wandering in the woods where there was known UFO activity, possibly a crashed UFO.
Yeah, the Rendlesham Forest is, when you say that, I instantly think of the UFO phenomenon that happened out there. Jim Pennison. When our show very first started out, I had asked him if he'd come on the show because I wanted to talk about that. And at the time, he didn't come on, unfortunately. So I don't, at this point, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to interview him or not. He he definitely has an interesting story to tell. And that binary code, which he came up with zeros and ones that they were able to translate into coordinates and a message or something. I mean, that's amazing stuff. And that's really amazing stuff. That's intriguing. That's does it surprise me that people have seen, like you said, like a Bigfoot kind of, or a chimera type of creature, whether it's on all fours or all twos. People are seeing weird creatures out there, something like you see in mythology or something. Some of these ancient forests, that doesn't surprise me at all. Especially with the if you look back through the history all the way into antiquity, the different religions and practices and rituals and beliefs and the different things that have gone on in our past. Who knows? I mean, I tend to believe that the ancient alien theory to a point. I also believe in God and creation, but I believe in God. I believe in that he's responsible for creating things. We'll just say that. But I also believe that our history, like just like Hancock says, Graham Hancock, we're a species with amnesia. And yes. Secret societies have the records. They know what has happened in our human past. Them secrets are what make them secret societies. That and their religious demonic worship or whatever. But they have, whether you're talking, I think that these are the secrets that would free us. Give us our true history. Give us a true past. Give us, obviously that, when you see stone blocks that are 100 million tons, this stuff today, it's like, who built this stuff? Not cavemen. Obviously not cavemen. Don't even give me that. I have a lot of respect for the forbidden archaeology that they've done, stuff that they've come up with and the theories that have been put out. It's refreshing because it's not just what we're fed with a spoon in grade school.
When Mount St. Helens erupted in the early 80s, there were witness reports that they saw military helicopters carrying off large animals bigger than a bear. Do you think it's conceivable that the military have knowledge or maybe have bodies or even a live Bigfoot?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, okay? There's many angles to this. One, if you acknowledge Bigfoot, then you have this issue of forestry and mining where it becomes an endangered species. And if you have an endangered species in a forest, you can't go in there and clear cut a forest. There are laws to protect that. So they needed to have to get rid of all the laws, which whether I'm sure they'll do eventually. The way the government's growing out here, it's just insane. America's turning into a different country as we speak. Yeah, so you have that, okay? So that's going to upset all kinds of lobbies. We're talking millions and billions of dollars in forestry alone. So there's that angle. And then, of course, the whole idea that there's beings out there. Again, I used to be on the fence, even up to 5 years ago, as far as is Bigfoot an interdimensional being or just a regular Gigantopithecus we haven't documented properly yet. But with all the drones and trap cameras, and not just drones and trap cameras out there that can't find it, but some of the anomalous photos they are capturing. When they try to find it, they put out bait, put out the trap camera, all of a sudden they get weird anomalies, funny like lightning phenomenon or weird orbs or just light anomaly stuff, and then their bait's gone in the next picture. Just weird stuff like that. And it's not just one or two. There's dozens of people out there that are putting all kinds of time and energy into this, serious time and energy, full-time job kind of time and energy, and are just not getting anything. They're getting the same results basically that Les Stroud talks about, and he's having the same issues. He's saying like, I don't understand why we can't find this at this point. To be something more to this, and as a paranormal historian and just looking at everything I know, that I got to say the whole idea of paracryptozoology. The fact that there is something going on with some of these cryptids that is they're doing things that humans don't do. Evading. Yeah. Nothing else. They can evade in a way that our best ninjas wish they could. So
Les Stroud, he's that the survivalist. Yeah, he's that survivor man, and that's for him to say something's out there. That's he's pretty reputable. Right. I don't think he would willingly endanger his reputation or his credibility. So I think that's pretty credible. That put me pretty much over the fence, because I was on the fence as well for a while. But hearing him, and he came out with his show and everything, I think that kind of put me more to the believer side than anything else.
Another angle or facet to this, which may or may not be significant to Gavin's question, was the missing 411 issue topic. And that's with there are thousands of people in state parks that are going missing, and the state parks aren't keeping records of this stuff. So David Paulides just wrote a book on this. He spent years and years doing research. I believe he comes from a police kind of background, so he's got good investigative skills and stuff. And so he went and he started researching this, and he found that first of all, he asked the state parks if they had any what their figures researchers were on this and the information and stuff, and they wouldn't give it to them. Some of them said, we don't keep records of that stuff. It's like, you're kidding me. You have people missing in your state park and you're not keeping records of this? What's going on? That, again, yes, I think the government knows what's going on. I think that it wouldn't surprise me in the least if they didn't have a couple of these creatures somehow confined somewhere, if they're able to do that. Again, it's at the least you would figure they would try to do secret recon missions with their best Green Berets and Army Rangers and Navy SEALs to go out there and try to find one of these things. So if they're doing that, they're keeping the information to themselves. We're not getting it. And again, just to come out and say, okay, America, Bigfoot is real. It does exist. They're going to have to give us a reason why we haven't been able to document it properly. I just think that even if they were to come out and say there's nothing supernatural about these beings, it would still cause issues. But I think there is supernatural, and that in itself is reason to cover it up.
Yeah, then you start questioning reality if you start doing that. If the government comes out and acknowledges this, then you question, well, what else is fake? What else have they lied about? So, but yeah, I've heard that too. Well, I heard, as far as the Mount St. Helens issue that Gavin brought up, I heard that as well, that the military actually went out there and was picking up the Bigfoot bodies so people couldn't see them. They were leaving the humans on the ground. They were leaving other animals on the ground. They were just picking up the dead Bigfoots that were out there.
Interesting.
And then bringing them out and on flatbeds truck covered in tarps. Apparently there was quite a few, is what my understanding was.
You guys remember that mockumentary, Mermaids?
Yes.
Okay. I call it a mockumentary because there's false information in there. They had alleged that there were mermaid bodies washing up when they did these underwater sonar tests. Navy would, and same thing, where you'd have a situation where all of a sudden you have a beach that has a bunch of beached whales, a bunch of beached dolphins, and guess what? A few mermaid bodies wash up too. So, the government races down there in hazmat suits and everything else. What are they doing down there? Why do they block off the beach? That's part of the mockumentary, but there are reports where that has happened. That has nothing to do with the mockumentary. So that element of it, that specific element, does our government have, if there are mermaids, and the aqua ape theory, the fact that we just have webbing on our fingers, the way our body is structured. If you believe in evolution, in Darwinism, you gotta believe in mermaids. Okay, I'm not a Darwinism guy. Okay, I believe in minor evolution. I don't believe in major evolution. I would think that same thing. If we found out that we had human brothers swimming around in the ocean, that's going to raise all kinds of moral issues. Our oceans are bad enough polluted as it is, between the garbage and the stuff that the Navy's doing and everything else. It's just, and we have the Page Lake Monstrosities, which is the largest aquatic mysteries Facebook group out there right now. Check it out, everyone. We see that stuff, all the bad news and information coming out of the oceans right now. It's just day after day after day. It's nuts. Not to change topics, but
we know more about the moon than we do the oceans.
The government knows what's going on with the moon. There are theories about the moon. Some people report that every so often you can see a wave go over the moon. Like amateur astronomers are taping. They'll be filming the moon or whatever, and a wave will go over it, almost like it's a hologram or something. Now, the moon itself is anomalous for a lot of reasons. The fact that it doesn't spin, the fact that we always see one side of it, the fact that it's identically the same size as the sun during a solar eclipse, that alone, the odds of that are like 1 in a trillion or some ridiculous number. The fact that all of its craters, no matter how wide, are all the same depth. The fact that when they hit it with that satellite, it rang like a bell for 12 hours. There's just all kinds of weirdness with the moon. And with the moon landings. And then you got the stuff Richard Hoagland talks about, with not just Richard Hoagland and many others as well. The things on the moon that they've airbrushed out. And Mars.
Possibly one of the reasons we didn't go back is because they did find something up there.
Exactly.
And the more people that go up there, the more of a chance it is for it to get out into the public.
Well, with the moon landing, they say, is it real or is it fake? I think some of it's real. I think some of it's fake. I think we may have gone up there, found something that we didn't expect to find, or were bullied off of the moon or something freaked us out, or who knows what. But for whatever reason, we felt it was in our best interest not to go back. I know that something was blown up on the moon at one point. We don't get much about why or what, or if it even happened, or what's going on with that. Yeah, just, again, so much weirdness with the moon. And the fact that if you go back in our history, I'm just going to be safe on this. I'm going to say between 7,000 and 10,000 years ago, there are no records of the moon before that.
Really?
Interesting. So I think the oldest legend of the moon we have is from the Zulu tribe. That goes back about, again, as far back as mankind, 6, 7, 8,000 years, but that's about as far back as we can trace it. But you don't walk in a cave and see old cave paintings of the moon. It's just weird. Why not?
You see the sun, but not the moon.
Good grief. Now, Bigfoot is seen as a very spiritual creature, but there have been cases where Bigfoot is seen to be a bit violent. Do you think that Bigfoot is a gentle creature, or is it like any animal that when provoked, it could do harm?
I'd like to apologize. I didn't mean to get off topic there before.
No, not at all. It's fascinating, Kevin. Do not apologize, sir. It is, you're opening our minds to a whole slew of possibilities. We can do another show on mermaids and the moon. I think that would be fantastic if you would like to come back whenever you're free. For the people who tuned into Bigfoot, would you say it's a spiritual creature, or do you think it could do harm to people if provoked?
I believe both. I believe if you provoke it, it will defend itself like anybody would. I do believe it's a spiritual creature. It is to many of the paracryptozoologists I know. It's very spiritual. There are people that claim to communicate with it. Obviously, the Native Americans have all their legends, and to them, it's a very spiritual animal. I mean, that's deep within the religious vocabulary or dictionary or whatever. Yeah, and I think. But at the same time, I think like if you startled one accidentally or threatened it or one of its younger ones, I think it would be extremely dangerous. I will say this though, almost all of the Bigfoot reports are nonviolent. So I would wager to say that it's I wouldn't put it at the top of the list of frightening cryptids. I think I'd leave that with the Dogman / werewolf report. Them seem to be much more scary, violent. The Bigfoot stuff is a lot of people get startled by it. A lot of people see it and they don't have any fear. So.
There have been reports that it will throw rocks at you to try to get you to leave its territory, or it'll start screaming and hollering, from a distance to try to scare you off. So I think that's the only really violent things we've heard.
And that brings up an interesting point. We just assume, again, or I should say, let's not assume that because Bigfoot might be interdimensional somehow, that it means it's the super genius. It may be just some simple creature who has, it's like the legend in Africa. I can't remember the name. In African tribes, they have a legend of a little primate that is able, supposedly, kind of does like the Daredevil on X-Men, where it disappears and it reappears somewhere else. Okay, they have a legend of a little primate that does this. I know Destination Truth did an episode trying to document it. They would say that this little primate would go, they like rotten milk and I forget what else. Sometimes they would report it, like this creature would be in the huts in the middle of the night. Someone would wake up and see it, and then it would be like on the kitchen table or something, and then it would disappear and reappear somewhere else. And I thought, man, if this little primate could do that, supposedly, why couldn't Bigfoot? But yet still be just like a simple creature. I mean, the one thing, whether it's interdimensional or not, it seems to go after the bait piles. You said sometimes it seems to like where if you're in its territory, probably close to it, what it calls its lair, will probably try to do things to get you to go away because it doesn't want you there. Again, what's the mystery behind it? What's the Bigfoot's agenda? That's that whole thing. Questions.
A lot of theories, and that's what I was going to bring up as well. Maybe it can just appear and reappear in different places, maybe different times as well, if you think about it, because it's been documented for hundreds of years.
Well, there's another theory, and I don't think it's responsible for all of them. It might be responsible for a very, very small percentage, and that may be, again, it's the same thing that goes back to a theory that is shared with Loch Ness Monster, and that's, are we looking at like the ghost of an animal that once existed?
Oh, that's interesting. Yes.
Gigantopithecus, we know it existed. We have the fossils to prove it. Surprisingly, it's amazing that they let us see that. Even that. But they did, so we know it exists. So, yeah, if ghosts are real, spirits are real, there should be no reason why, residually, at a minimum, one of these figures will pop up. What if, I don't know if I can say that because it crossed the highway, specifically the highway. Like, it wasn't like walking in a different area or anything, but I'd say with some of them, maybe people are seeing ghosts of animals that once existed. Please, as far as the Loch Ness Monster or Champ or anything goes, Gigantopithecus, as far as Bigfoot goes, species we haven't documented yet, that's very similar.
Kevin, I'm going to ask you, right? Fact or fake? The Patterson Gimlin footage. What's your opinion on that?
If you would have asked me that 5 years ago, I probably would have said real. As the years go by, I'm starting to question it. But I got two problems with the Gimlin film. One is that they were making a Bigfoot documentary movie when they were filming this, and that's not talked about much. The other problem I have with it is that it's even though it looks amazing and you see muscle structure, you even see boobs. Things that people would assume, well, nobody would put that stuff into it if it were, if you were hoaxing something, you wouldn't think of putting boobs on it or that kind of thing, unless you were making a Bigfoot movie and you're trying different monkey suits and stuff. They say, well, the technology wasn't there to have suits like that. And if they were making suits that good, how come they weren't working for the movies? I don't know. But the biggest problem I have with it is that we haven't got anything else since then that is even closely comparable to. In other words, how come only that piece of footage? Like, we have other ones that are blob squatch ones where like they're from a distance or it's real grainy but nothing definitive like the Patterson footage. So I guess for most of my paranormal career, I felt it was real, because you do see some what might be called muscle structure. And the other reason for that is that question I've also had the pleasure of asking many cryptozoologists, and most of them feel it's real. But again, it's like, man, if we should have more by now with the drones, with the trap cameras, with the amount of people now that belong to Bigfoot groups that go out looking for it, why aren't we getting anything else that's that amazing? So for me, it's like, did they make this up? It's possible. Now, to their credit, it is way in the middle of nowhere. And people have even gone back to the same identical location to verify that it was. So, I mean, like, you figure if you're going to make a Bigfoot movie, would you go that deep? Would you need to go that deep? There's pros and cons to it. I'm not as convinced as I used to be that it was real. 4 years go by, and the more we have the ability now with things, it's like, man, ultraviolet cameras just came out a couple of years ago. That was exciting. We could see in a new spectrum, a little fraction of the new spectrum. And then, bam, a couple of years later, Kinect's camera comes out. What have we got coming out in the near future? I look forward to it. I'm waiting for the day where we could put on a pair of glasses. You could see the spirit world. We'd go insane.
I think when, going back to the technology at the time, people were saying, well, you couldn't have faked that, and that didn't exist. But you got to remember, at that time, they were making Planet of the Apes. Right. And they had the makeup and the costumes. They had everything like that, and that was realistic. So that was available at that time. So those were, I'm guessing, people in costumes as well. So the technology, the makeup and all that, and the costumes, and they did exist at that time. So that's really much a fallacy when people come out and say, well, that didn't exist. Because it did, and probably some years before that as well.
And here's a good example of why. Another reason I think it could be fake. If you look at it's the Dogman footage that came out. Monster Quest did a show on it. A guy had faked some Dogman footage in Michigan, and he sent it to a radio station who watched it and thought it was real and put it out there, and it became a big thing. Then the guy came out and said, no, I hoaxed it. It was a joke. It showed it was supposed to be like footage from the 70s. Some guy chopping wood, and he's working on his truck, and next thing you know, they're filming in the field, and there's this almost like this baboon looking thing that kind of like is looking at him, and then it comes flying right at him. It comes right up to the camera. You get a glimpse of some teeth, and then bam, that's the end of the footage. And I remember when I first saw that, I thought, man, that looks so real. First time I saw it, it fooled. Okay, I thought, damn. That could be real. Comes out and says, no, it's not real, and this is how I made it, and this is what I did. He said the lighting just happened to be perfect. The camera just happened to be perfect. He's like, it came out way better than I ever could have hoped for. And I think if that can happen, then it could be the same thing with the Gimlin, where maybe they were making the suit and they said, hey, let's put boobs on it. Nobody will ever think of that. Okay. And let's go out and film this once, and hey, wow, because of the way the is, and it looks like sheen. It actually looks like muscle structure. We got lucky on that one. Stan, how do we know that's just not the case? So tough call.
Well, Gimlin was recently interviewed as well, and he admitted that they went out there looking to film a Bigfoot. They had all the equipment to do that.
Well, the question is, were they making their own Bigfoot movie, or were they trying to film a Bigfoot scientifically? That's the question. Like, maybe they were trying to make a Bigfoot film, and they realized that they had actually shot a piece of film that was so amazing they could fool everybody, and hey, let's just turn this into Bigfoot footage and not even tell people about the little movie we were going to make. It's out as a real thing. We'll get way more exposure. It's a possibility.
Well, anything's possible. He even mentioned that they went up, they found where this thing had been watching them for a few days, and he wanted to go out looking for it, but the other guy said, no, let's wait a little bit, and then we'll go after it later or something. So, Gimlin could have just been a pawn, and everything else, they just could have probably used him to film it. And so that's what it sounds like when he's interviewed.
Yeah, we haven't interviewed him. And because we're a drama-free show, on and throw a bunch of curveballs at him. That's just not our...
No, not curveballs. It was just him talking. He was being interviewed, and it was just him.
Oh, no, I'm I'm saying, like, if we had him on, would I ask him the hard
Yeah.
questions? Like, hey, well, how come no one else has gotten anything that's as amazing? And hey, weren't you guys really filming a Bigfoot movie? Just things that I've heard. And even if he wasn't, the movie aside, the fact
Yeah.
the one reason that we haven't got anything else that's comparable in so long, especially with all the technology we have out there now, just it almost defies the odds. Just that. Maybe it's a numbers thing. Maybe that's why I feel comfortable saying that. Math
That
doesn't
could be a very small population, but that they would eventually inbreed themselves out of existence if it was that small.
Yeah, and we have different types too. I find that interesting. You go into the Himalayas, you got the Yeti. You go in the southern U.S., you have the skunk ape. Up by us, most of the reports are in the Midwest are brown color. If you go out towards the West Coast, the Rocky Mountains, they're more black. They're darker. You go up towards Alaska, and they're getting bigger again. It goes from 8 feet all the way to 9 feet. To some people say 10 feet. Same thing with the dogman reports. It seems like the further north you go, the bigger they get. I don't know why that is, but again, we see it with bears. Further north, the bigger they get.
It's like the grizzlies.
Yep.
And polar bears.
So yeah, that I believe too. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Well, there's even been report of white Bigfoots over in Alabama. We had a guest on that mentioned that he actually saw one.
And what's interesting about that? I wonder if that isn't just old age Bigfoots.
Maybe.
Why not, right?
Sure, absolutely. And how long did they live? There's no telling. They could live, 60 years or 100 years, 120 years. Some whales live over 200 years. We don't know.
We don't know. Another amazing thing about Bigfoot, I've always been amazed by. If you look at specific things, one thing that has made me wonder. I believe in Bigfoot because I've seen him with my eyes, so I know he's real. Some of the questions I have would leave me skeptical otherwise. Like, for instance, how come nobody stumbled upon a sleeping Bigfoot yet? Nobody, ever. Not one report of someone sneaking up and, oh yeah, I was walking along and there's a Bigfoot sleeping by a tree. You never hear that. We never find them sleeping, ever. Now, of course, they say that they go way deep in the middle of nowhere and they have sentinels and this and that, and maybe they do. We're still not finding them. And some of these reports aren't deep in the middle of nowhere. Where we were 15 minutes away from a Walmart where I saw them. Again, it's like that to me, like if there's, I do think they're a breeding unit because we see big ones, we see little ones, we've seen mothers holding Bigfoot, little Bigfoots, see family units. We don't see that with Mothman or Jersey Devil, which is why I think them are possibly more demonic also. Again, that falls into paracryptozoology too. Any animal or suspected cryptid that may have superhuman abilities or supernatural abilities of some type, that kind of falls into that too. But
what would be your advice, Kevin, to anybody who did come across a Bigfoot? How would you tell them to react and behave?
I am no kill opposed to pro kill, so my advice would be don't murder something needlessly. Man, if you can get a picture, absolutely. Of course, some people believe that, we won't. Some people believe, we have to kill it because science won't acknowledge it until we kill it. Guess what? We probably have killed them before. And guess what? They're covered up. That's the problem. These things get covered up. X-Files, that's fake, but there are FBI agents out there that work unexplained cases. That's real. The Smithsonian alone has covered up so much stuff on giants. That alone. And again, when you talk about giants, some of them Bigfoots are pretty big. I'm not saying that Bigfoots are giants, but when I'm just saying, like, if the Smithsonian and the government's going to cover up giants, I'm sure that the government's probably, like Gavin suggested before, do they have a body? Do they know about it? Yes, they do, and they cover it up. Who knows? Maybe someone. The thing is, nobody's going around killing them all the time. To see one alone is like once in a lifetime. So to actually get a chance to kill one would be even probably way more, the odds are way more greater, or less, I should say, that you're going to do it. So, probably has happened. It's probably been covered up really well. Just never heard about it.
And the people that say that they've actually had the opportunity to do that say they don't because it looks too human.
Yeah, and good for them. I'm glad we have people like that in the world.
Yeah, they say, no, that was a human. I'd probably go to jail.
Well, these are our brothers and sisters. If they're sentient beings, thinking beings like us, and they're made in God's image like us, had 2 arms, 2 legs, they're our brothers.
Well, it could be, the theory, another species of human, another type of human, maybe, like a Neanderthal type. Maybe some of them could have lived into modern times back at, deep into the forest somewhere, deep in the mountains.
Sure.
And that's what we're seeing. They're clever enough to stay hidden.
I believe in Genesis somewhere it talks about men was all covered head to toe in hair, and he left the clan or whatever and went off in the woods to live. Okay, that reference is in the Bible. I find that interesting. I mean, just that reference alone. But
so you think they're referring to the same creature? Maybe it's a different.
I think so.
Different species, different something.
We got dwarves, we got hobbits, we got Gigantopithecus. We can prove all this We have giants. I mean, not every giant skeleton was covered up. So different sizes, shapes, variations of humanoids. Let's just call them humanoids. Whether they're interdimensional, extraterrestrial, underwater. Yeah, I think it's totally plausible. I also fan of the Hollow Earth. Not fan. I believe there's something to the Hollow Earth theory. And who knows what lives down there. Some prominent cryptozoologists and paracryptozoologists I know believe that some of these Bigfoots are coming from cave structures that live underground, and that's why we don't run into them too often. And once in a while they'll venture out of ground. Again, it's a theory that is as good as any other theory until we can prove otherwise. You can speculate on it. So yeah, I would say why not? There could very easily be like a Neanderthal that just happens to have a lot of hair. Yeah, you know, here's the thing I always thought. Okay, we have Star Wars with Chewbacca, and that's George Lucas, right? Who is a Freemason. I think he's Illuminati even. And he would have information to secret society stuff. So who knows, like, what kind of, you know, it's possible that even the Vedic stuff talks about hairy men. You know, you probably, I know you can find old Oriental artwork that depicts men all covered in hair. Completely,
yes.
You know.
Yes, I've seen that, yes.
It's just
even the Vikings, the Old Norse have stories about people up in the north, in the far north, that had hair or covered with hair. They did battle with these creatures.
Maybe these creatures are some kind of angels of the earth, for all we know. Or maybe they're a species, like, there's so many possibilities. But I can't help but to think that there's something paranormal or supernatural going on with them. There's some element to it that's, whatever the element it is, it's the element that's keeping the mystery for us going. I mean, why, again, like, we should be able to document certain creatures like we do every other creature. And I understand we're finding new ones all the time. But with the Bigfoot, I mean, there's over 100,000 reports in the U.S. alone. That's a lot of reports. And that's the ones that people have come forward with. I figured for every report, there is at least one report that's not coming forward. Easy. Maybe 2 or 3 for everyone that does come forward.
Quite a bit. Yeah, I'd imagine.
So, I mean, you take that. I mean, that's just, again, like when I saw the map of Britain and all the Bigfoot sightings that were calculated, I was like, holy shit. That filled, I mean, damn near the whole island is filled up. If they're seeing that many, how come they can't document the species of it?
Right. That
alone tells me this. I don't know if portals or they're invisible or interdimensional or what the deal is, but there's something going on.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they're not going to report what they've seen. You know, they're afraid to, you know, they don't want to be ridiculed or anything like that because that's what society does.
Especially if it's got supernatural elements to
yes,
it.
exactly.
It's one thing to say I saw a Bigfoot. It's another thing to say I saw a Bigfoot and he walked in a portal. You know, that kind of stuff. So, you know, or...
So we're pretty much conditioned not to report these things. Society has conditioned us to do that. And, you know, I think that's on purpose.
That is on purpose. That's part of our conditioning. They don't want us asking questions. They want us work and, you know, build a system, basically.
Yeah.
And ask as few questions as possible and give as much information as possible. But that's because of the mortal powers that be. Things happen for a reason. And a lot of things happen for a lot of reasons we don't know about.